Each week during our program, we do something called a community moment, where someone from the Oasis community gets up and just shares kind of a thought for the day. Might be something from a book they read, a movie they saw, or something about their personal journey. Today is a first-time community moment presenter, but she's been with Oasis from the very beginning, and we're excited to welcome Judy Williams to the podium.
This is kind of about how I got here and why I'm here.
Gary brought you.
No. Actually, it's probably, if you look at the long run of our marriage, I probably brought him. I came from a small town in Michigan where most people were liberal Christians. I was taught the Bible was inspired by God, but written by man. That means that there are mistakes, inconsistencies, and parts of it that were probably just plain wrong. It was a theology book, not a science book, with stories to explain certain things to early man. And we certainly knew that parts of it were just plain not true. I mean, Jonah living in the whale, come on, we understood digestion. And two kinds of every animal going to the Middle East voluntarily, even from Australia. Even the creation story. We may have been farmers, but 7 24-hour-day periods? Come on, we weren't stupid. And in our town, if you didn't believe in science, you were still insulting God's creation, because God created science. That's obvious. Everybody should know that. Most people believed that miracles were things that happened when they needed to happen. And many people believed, as I do, that miracles were built into the system, and they either happened when you needed them to happen, or they were things that happened that would eventually be explained either through science or somehow we'd eventually figure out how they worked. We were encouraged to interpret the Bible for ourselves, as I guess we'd be inspired by God to interpret it. In my confirmation class, we studied other religions and listened to Bill Cosby tapes and learned about the human experience. Eventually, I moved to Houston. Bible Belt, land of the non-thinking Christian, where preachers seem to have phones that were directly connected to God, and they served control up hot through fear and guilt. This didn't fit my definition of Christianity, and their interpretation of the Bible certainly didn't match mine. Still, when I had kids, I went looking for a church to bring them up in. There's very few churches in Houston that are liberal, and most of those that are very touchy-feely and not very based on reality. So when we moved to Katy, we found Mike, and his sermons were filled with science and things that I could use every day without guilt trips. And sometimes I even remembered what was said after I left. So when Mike went to Theophilus, we followed him. And my kids were mostly grown at that point. And so when he came out as being a non-believer, I was kind of sad, but I wasn't going to look for another church, not down here. While I've lived in the South, I've watched the religious right misrepresent the Bible, while actually saying that their interpretation was the only one. They pick and choose what they believe, while they insist that they believe the whole thing word for word. And mostly they preach fear and hate and how to think for yourselves. It makes me ashamed to be associated with Christianity. After Theophilus, Gary and Mike started going to lunch together. Sometimes I went along. Somewhere in those lunches, the idea of a fellowship based on something other religion came up. There must be something in churches that has kept them going for so long. What was it? We finally decided it was a community. And the Oasis idea was born. We brought other people together to see if it might be a feasible idea. And a person by the name of John Allen came up with the catchphrase, grounded in reason, celebrating the human experience. It was perfect. What I saw was a place where people could go together without the baggage of religion. Some place where people could find other people in a community. A group that didn't care what other people's theology was, nor about personal philosophies or politics. I've seen so many people hurt by religion. Some believe, some don't. Many have no place to call community. I wanted a refuge for those people. I've also had a soft spot in my heart for gays. My daughter says I'm clearly prejudiced in favor of gays. I wanted a place where the whole non-heterosexual community would feel welcome. I wanted a place where people could feel welcome no matter what their race or heritage was. How many of us know our neighbors very well? Who has a job where they can't really be themselves for fear of persecution or job loss? I see so many people who live lonely lives as individuals in a city of millions. I wanted a place where those people could come and a community where families of mixed marriages, be they racial, theology, or religion, not religion, mixed philosophies, politics, whatever, they could all come together and everyone feeling welcome. I don't want a religious access for Oasis. I don't want to have to care about it. I want this group based on reason and fact, not myth. And deciding to center it on education was the right decision, I felt. And even if you personally believe something that most of the others find questionable or maybe a myth, you're accepted as long as you don't expect me or anybody else to believe it. The Oasis I see is a group that comes together to learn things and enjoys spending time with one another. I look forward to learning from others, to know what they have to tell us and through discussions and the theories and how things work. Our topics are mostly based in science, but as most of us will agree, the more we know we don't know. So sometimes we'll bring things that are cutting edge theories that haven't been very well researched, but we're working on it. But that's not all a community is. It's also being there for one another, listening when they have things happen, ups, downs, the need to talk, helping celebrate or mourning with each other, accepting each other, realizing that people are not perfect, nor are we all alike, not judging people based on gossip, prejudice, or points of view, laughing together because of a joke or a funny situation. And along the way, if we have potlucks, small groups who do things in common, we help our community as a whole, and do charitable work, we find ourselves capturing the best of what thousands of years of religious communities have done. Decisions for Oasis, I see, are based on facts and reality, while taking into account humanity and the needs of our group as a whole. I'm not looking for a place where one person dictates the needs as a whole. I'm looking for a place where we have leaders. We need leaders because we need people to take responsibility for Oasis. And so far this group is doing beautifully. We have people who have stepped up and are taking leadership in programs that they want to see happen, and it's great. We have new people who all the time who are keynoting our Sunday sessions, classes, events, seminars. We gotta get a name for this thing. I still believe in God. I know there's no proof. But I'm not asking you to believe it. I'm asking you to be my friends, my family, my community. And you are. I don't know all of you individually, but I'm sure you're all great, wonderful people. I think people are really cool. Each one has an individual, unique, wonderful story to tell and are filled with information that you may not even realize you have. So why am I really here? Well, maybe it goes back to I finally figured out what the message Bill Cosby was saying back in those early liberal confirmation classes. It's really all about people, friends, family, community, acceptance, and laughter. Thanks.